going to be a two-part day. This is who is Maya Angelou, since I missed last week's upload, guys. I'm sorry. It's been crazy. Maya Angelou was a multi-talented writer and performer who was best known for her work as an author and poet. Her memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, made a literary history as the first nonfiction bestseller by an African-American woman. She earned a Grammy Award for reciting Phenomenal Woman, Still I Rise, and On the Pulse of the Morning at President Bill Clinton's inauguration in 1993. Angelou had also enjoyed the career as a Tony and Emmy nominated actor and singer in plays, musicals, and on-screen series. She then became the first African-American woman to have a screenplay produced with the 1972 movie Georgia, Georgia. In her work as a civil rights activist, she would collaborate with Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, among others. The Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient died at the age of 86 in May of 2014. Now, in her early life, she was born as Marguerite Ann Johnson on April 4th, 1928 in St. Louis. She had a very difficult childhood as her parents split when she was very young. This led her and her older brother Bailey to be sent to their grandmother's house, paternal grandmother's house, to live in Stamps, Alabama. Marguerite would be given the nickname Maya by her brother Bailey. As an African American, Angelou experienced firsthand racial prejudices and discrimination in Arkansas. She would experience violence at home around the age of 7. She would also go visit her mother, and she was raped by her mother's boyfriend. As vengeance for the event, Angelou's uncles would then kill the boyfriend. The young Maya was extremely traumatized by the experience, which led her to stop talking. She then returned to Arkansas and spent the next 5 years as virtually mute. She had a short-lived high school relationship that resulted in pregnancy. At the time, Maya was 16 when she delivered her son, Guy Johnson, in 1944. After giving birth, she worked a number of jobs in order to support her and her son. It was around this time that Maya would move to San Francisco and won a scholarship to study dance and acting at the California Labor School. She would also become the first African American female cable conductor in San Francisco at the time. In the mid-1950s is when the world began to notice Maya Angelou for her professionalism, that she would adapt to her first husband's last name. Angelou landed a role in a touring production of Porgy and Bess, later appearing in the off-Broadway production of Calypso Heatwave in 1957, and releasing her first album after, named Miss Calypso. She was a member of the Harlem Writers Guild and a civil rights activist. However, she organized and starred in the musical revue Cabaret for Freedom as a benefit for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which Martin Luther King Jr. held before becoming its first president. Angelou also served as SCLC's Northern Coordinator and became close to King himself. Then during 1961, Angelou appeared in an off-production of Jean Genet's The Blacks with James Earl Jones, as we know, who voiced Mufasa in the animated series and the live action, Lou Gossett Jr. and Cicely Tyson. She then retreated from the theater scene for the majority of the 60s. She would live abroad, starting in Egypt and eventually ended in Ghana. This is when Angelou starts working as an editor and a freelance writer. She would eventually land a job at the University of Ghana for a while. While she was in Ghana, Angelou would also join a community of revolutionist returnees that explored Pan-Africanism, and this would lead her to become close with Malcolm X, who was an activist and African-American nationalist. In 1964, Angelou would return to the United States to help Malcolm X set up the Organization of Afro-American Unity that became disbanded after his assassination the following year. She then earned a Tony Award nomination for her role in the play Look Away in 1973 and an Emmy Award nomination for her work on the television miniseries Roots in 1977. The poems that she wrote were things like Just Give Me a Cool Drink of Water 'Fore I Die, which was published but was the most famous in the collection in 1971 that made her nominated for the Pulitzer Prize. Oh, Pray My Wings Are Gonna Fit Me Well, which includes a poem that she wrote called Alone. She also wrote And Still I Rise, which includes a poem, Phenomenal Woman. Shaker, Why Don't You Sing in 1983. I Shall Not Move in 1990, which features the poem Human Family. Even the Stars Look Lonesome in 1997. Let's see. Apple famously used the video of Angelou reading her poem Human Family in an advertisement at the 2016 Olympics. On the Pulse of Morning is when Angelou will read this at the 1993 inauguration ceremony for former President Bill Clinton. As one of her most famous works, Angelou wrote this poem specifically for President Bill Clinton's inaugural ceremony in January 1993. Her recitement at the ceremony marked the first inaugural poem reading since 1961, when Robert Frost delivered the gift outright at John F. Kennedy's inauguration. Angelou would go on to win a Grammy Award for Best Spoken Word Album for the audio version of On the Pulse of Morning. Other well-known poems by Angelou can include His Day is Done, which is a 1962 tribute poem that Angelou wrote for Nelson Mandela as he made his secret journey from Africa to London, and Amazing Peace, which was written for the White House tree lighting ceremony in 2005. The books that she has written were several memoirs and cookbooks. This landed her 2 NAACP Image Awards in the Outstanding Literacy Award Nonfiction category for her 2005 work, That Cookbook, and 2008's work of Letter to My Daughter. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings was about Angelou's life experiences. This resulting work became the enormously successful 1969 memoir about her childhood and young adult years. This story made literary history as the first nonfiction bestseller by an African American woman. The book continues to be regarded as her most popular autobiographical work, and in 1995, Angelou was lauded for remaining on the New York Times paperback bestsellers list for 2 years, which was the longest running record in the chart's history at the time. Other books include Gathered Together in My Name, which was written in 1974. This was a follow-up to I Know Why the Caged Birds Sing. This covers her life as an unemployed teenage mother who lived in California when she eventually turned to narcotics and prostitution. Singing and Swinging and Getting Married Like Christmas was written about her early career, and it was published in 1976. The Heart of a Woman was crafted in 1981 about her leaving California with her son for New York, where she took part in the civil rights movement. All God's Children Needed Traveling Shoes, which was a lyrical exploration about what it means to be an African American. The autobiographical book was published in 1986 and covered the years Angelou spent living in Ghana. Wouldn't Take Nothing for My Journey Now was an inspirational essay collection that was written in 1994 that features Angelou's insights about spiritual and living well. A Song Flung Upon the Heaven was an autobiographical work that was written in 2002, which explores Angelou's return from Africa to the United States and her ensuing struggle to cope with the devastating assassinations of two human rights leaders with whom she worked, which was Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. King was killed on Angelou's 40th birthday, therefore leading the author to stop celebrating her birthday for years afterward. She also sent flowers to King's widow, Coretta Scott King, for more than 30 years until her death in 2006. The last two books, Letter to My Daughter and Mom and Me and Mom. The Letter to My Daughter was a 2008 book of essays where Angelou dictates about having a daughter she never had. This also features advice for young women about a life of meaning. Mom and Me and Mom is where Angelou discusses her complicated relationship with her mother, who abandoned her during childhood. The only cookbook that Angelou ever wrote was Hallelujah, The Welcome Table, a lifetime of memoirs with recipes in 2005, and Great Food All Day Long in 2010. Her movie career started after she published I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and broke new ground artistically, educationally, and writing. The movie Georgia, Georgia in 1972. This drama made her the first African American woman to have a screenplay produced. Then in 1998, Angelou was seeking new creative challenges that landed her a directorial debut with Down in the Delta that starred Alfre Woodard. Her work on the film was recognized with the Chicago International Film Festival's 1998 Audience Choice Award. She also got a nod from the Acapulco Black Film Festival in 1999. In the beginning of 1982, Angelou also returned to teaching at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. Then, over the years, she led a number of humanities courses that includes race, politics, and literature, African culture, and the impact on the U.S. African culture and impact on the U.S. and race in the Southern experience. In 2011, President Barack Obama awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Angelou. Now, with her sons and husbands in 1945, or around 1944 to 1945, Angelou gave birth to her son, Clyde Johnson, when she was 16. Johnson followed his mother's footsteps to become a poet known as Guy Johnson. He died in February of 2022. Angelou was often tight-lipped about her personal life, and details of her marriages and relationships have been inconsistent, even based on her own accounts. It is believed that she married at least 3 times, and according to the National Women's History Museum, Angelou wed Tosh Angelos, an electrician in the United States Navy, in 1949. She adopted a version of his surname and kept it through the rest of her life, despite the couple's divorce in 1952. Then in the late 1960s, Angelou would meet Musumzi Mate, a South African freedom fighter. The couple married in 1961, according to the Stanford University's Martin Luther King Jr. Research and Education Institute. They would move to Seattle with her son in 1962, but the marriage dissolved soon after. Then 11 years later, in 1973, Angelou married carpenter Paul Dufeo, I know I'm butchering this, and lived with him in Berkeley, California until their divorce in 1981. After experiencing health issues for a number of years, Angelou died on May 28, 2014, at her home in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She was 86 years old. A specific cause of death wasn't really given, but Angelou's literary agent, Helen Braun, said that she had been frail and suffering from heart problems. The news after her passing spread quickly, with many people taking to social media to mourn and remember Angelou. The singer Mary J. Blige and politician Cory Booker were among those who tweeted their favorite quotes by her in tribute. Then President Barack Obama also issued a statement about Angelou, calling her a brilliant writer, a fierce friend, and a truly phenomenal woman. A memorial service for Angelou was held on June 7, 2014 at Wake Forest University, where she taught for about 3 decades. Among the attendees were her close friend Oprah Winfrey, former President Bill Clinton, then First Lady Michelle Obama, and actor Cicely Tyson. And that's it pretty much for Maya Angelou. I will come back to y'all here in the next few hours to do lovely Big Mama Thornton.